Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Normal America Show. I'm your host, robnoerr. Now, I wear this hat a lot, and I want you to notice here something. If I turn it around, notice how it's more white than normal? I cleaned the hat. Can you believe that? I cleaned the hat. I started my TikTok invasion. Got to get to 1,000 subs first. But I cleaned my hat. I heard President Xi was watching today. And as we all know here in America, if our communist overlords are coming, well, then it's time to clean up, right? Oh, there's my friend Ogre. I look like a Muslim. Thank you. That's what I was going for. Devout. Got to check all the boxes. You never know who will win, the culture wars. I feel I could pass as a Muslim if they win. I just have to, like the people, I just have to throw... Zionist. There, see, I'm good now, right? There's Zionists everywhere. Yeah. I'll get along, right? And if the Chinese come, it's very difficult. Us as, normal, conservative, constitutional people that just want to see a government that works for us, we're way down. The chances of us winning are really, really low. We're kind of hosed. We don't really have much of a chance. I think right now we have a three-way battle for control of the world. The Communist Chinese Party, the woke globalist party, and then the radical Islamic group. I don't know how much, it'll be weird to see, where the real people that matter, trans people, where do they come out in all this, right? Where's the trans agenda fit in, say, a Hamas-controlled United States? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, right? Of course, we'll be watching from, no doubt, our gulags or wherever we're put. I saw Trump as Hitler is trending. Did you hear that Trump's threatening to do some bad stuff? Man, he's going to go after his opponents. Please don't sell me on the guy. Just when I thought I was voting for DeSantis, now you promised me a good time? Boy, if Trump gets in office, he's going to lock up all of his opponents. Really? Interesting. Tell me more. It'd be a shame if Trump does to Democrats what they did to him and to Trump supporters. We can't have that. Can't have that. Let's see, what do we got? This very young, up-and-coming conservative streamer named Indian Jesus has a total sweetheart, very bright. You guys should have a conversation sometime, sure. Always up to talk to anyone. Hopefully chum in some lefties. I'd really like to yell at someone tonight. I could yell at Ogre, but what's the fun in that? Ogre drew a sweet picture of me. Let me show you. Just a warning, it's a little vulgar. Mm-hmm. Here's Ogre's artwork of me. Again, a little vulgar. I'll put the picture up and then you tell me which one's me on the video and which one's the picture. Ready? Oh, Boomer forgot to set the... There I am. Wow. Oh, wow. That's your thumb. Look at that. Wow. Pretty cool, right? Thank you, Ogre. I feel you didn't get enough of my nose hairs. But, for a first effort. He also got the hat I used to wear with the fish on it. It's nice. And, of course, Hunter Biden's, sex life. Do I think America should scrap the current voting system and bring what the rest of the world has with a multi-party voting system? No, it wouldn't be feasible. It's pie-in-the-sky nonsense. It couldn't happen. The bicameral system, the two-party system's so entrenched here, it just wouldn't be possible to have sort of the, parliamentary style voting that you see. There's so many other things that would be necessary changes before we led to that, and I don't even think that would necessarily, is the UK system working out any better? No. Right, McLinebacker, you got it. Also, I like I like, look at the chat here. He's got, Ogre says, someone give me a sub, which this is him who made that, so that's funny. Keyline, broken record. Boomer Team 6 says, I gotta go play bingo. Good stuff. Yeah. It was pretty lifelike, if I do say so myself. I have the greatest supporters. Not even my supporters like me, so it works out well. That's all right. We could all sit around and have some gallows humor about everything. Where to go? Right, that's what I'm saying, Poland. So I don't know. I think what you're seeing is more of a cultural battle in places like the UK, Canada, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, even other European countries. So I don't know that changing to a voting system more like them would necessarily, Of course, Roy, if you can't make fun of yourself, who can you make fun of? Why not start there, right? So here's a hot take I have. So anybody see the clip of Trump goes to UFC and Bill Burr's there with his wife, and Bill Burr's wife flips off Trump? Am I the only person that doesn't give a shit about this? First off, full disclosure, if I was at some sort of sporting event with my wife and Donald Trump came and sat next to me, my wife might flip him off. Probably not for the same reasons that Bill Burr's wife did. I don't think my wife's a big Trump fan, but she's probably close to indifferent. She probably dislikes him as much as any other politician. But the reason she would flip Trump off is because she's probably heard me ranting about Trump so many times, she would just direct his anger at him. Nonetheless, it looked like she was flipping him off. So I'll tell you exactly what I think happened, right? I'll give you my honest take on this. I think that she is, you see, the left has won the culture war so much. And when it comes to the cool kids, the people that are in charge of the institution, so the celebrities, the artists, the performers, the academics, the media people, the heads of corporate, it is incredibly the in thing to hate Donald Trump, to hate conservatives, to hate Republicans, to hate white people, to hate Christians, to hate heterosexuality, etc., etc., etc. All the cultural Marxist bullshit we talk about all the time. And so that's her way of signifying to her in crowd, the crowd that she wants to be in. Especially when your husband is Bill Burr, who, let's be honest, is sort of middle of the road, more centrist than Joe Rogan, more lefty than Joe Rogan, right? I don't think he's an extreme leftist. I think he's a political and cultural commentator more than anything, not political, cultural commentator with his humor. But if you're going to hang out with all your left-wing cool friends and your Bill Burr's wife, it would really help you, give you credibility in that circle if you flipped off Donald Trump. That would look real good. Real good. So I'm not going to give her the benefit of the doubt, personally. I think she did it on purpose. Well, she certainly did it on purpose. I don't think she slipped. But virtue signaling bullshit nonsense. If you asked her why she disliked Donald Trump, she would give you the stereotypical, Rachel Maddow bull. He said Nazis were good people. He said to drink bleach, and he made fun of a handicapped reporter. Right? Thank you, Dash. That would be it. She don't know what. I think she was flipping off Trump, but whatever. But here's the thing. I've never once listened to Bill Burr's wife do stand-up or read any of her posts. I didn't know Bill Burr had a wife. I remember listening, I'll be quite clear, I haven't listened to probably Bill Burr do a new stand-up set in 2 to 3 years. I remember him talking about having a girlfriend and things like that. I remember him even mentioning having a black girlfriend because he had a bit I thought was funny about how white people don't know about lotion, like when your arms are ashy and shit like that. It was kind of funny. And then he was making a bit about black guys don't know that you have to register your gun. It was a funny bit. I thought it was funny. I like Bill Burr. I think he's a funny comedian. I think, like many comedians that I like, Bill Burr would not agree with me politically. That's fine. I don't give a shit. Very few people do agree with me politically. So what am I going to do? Not think anything's funny. Like my favorite comedian's Norm Macdonald. He probably wouldn't agree with me everything politically. Though I think He would have been closer than people suspect. But nonetheless, I don't know who Bill Burr's wife is. Why would I judge Bill Burr based on her? Like, there's so many people out there like, oh, don't go see Bill Burr and I'll cancel Bill Burr. That's your right. I'm not telling you, if you don't like the guy, then don't go. That's cool. No one's entitled to your entertainment dollar. Do what you want. No problem. I just don't see what the big hubbub is. Trump should have just flipped her off back. Great. Yeah, Schneider and Brewer would be close to me, yeah. And I'm sure he did become insufferable during COVID, like 95% of people, probably true. I don't know. I just don't get, like, listen, I absolutely hate how bad we've lost culturally, how all of these institutions are dominated by left-wing ideologues. I hate it, right? I absolutely do. And I don't have a problem with cancel culture to an extent being used against the left. Now, my take is sort of nuanced. I'm not doing it. I'm not out there saying deplatform this person. I won't do that shit. But if you're the type of person that's out there calling for people to be deplatformed and then you get called to be deplatformed, I'm not going to, lose any sleep over it. I'm not going to defend you just for the sake of it. I'll defend the principle. And I also know that it won't stop until the very people on the left that have enjoyed attacking those they disagree with for cancel culture, until they themselves are attacked. But there's different, levels of cancel culture, right? Obviously, doxing's out of control. I'm against all forms of that. Calling for people to be fired and shit, I don't do any of that stuff. But boycotts and stuff, that's complete fair game. But I do think sometimes it could go over the line. The way to do it is you boycott, you get everyone on board to almost at random boycott one company. That's why the Bud Light boycott was effective. I could show you beer ads till I'm blue in the face from other companies. You'd be like, oh yeah, that's bullshit, boycott them. Arguably worse than what Bud Light did, just putting out a can with Dylan Mulvaney. But, unfortunately, corporate America is going to go with the side that they think will help entrench their power, their influence, their bottom line, their money. And if they say, well, the right will never do anything to us, and the left will boycott us if we don't virtue signal for them, we're going to virtue signal for the left. So what you do is, you make one company pay. It doesn't matter if they didn't, if they're doing woke shit, whatever. Then other beer companies will be like, oh shit, we're going to try to stay out of this one. That's how you do it, right? I don't much give a shit. But sometimes I just think it's stupid. I don't even know, there are incidents, I watched the new Buzz Lightyear movie. It was not a good movie. It was dumb because it didn't it was just stupid. I don't even understand what they were thinking. Why they wouldn't have Tim Allen do Buzz Lightyear's voice. I didn't really like the movie. But I watched it with my kid because it happened to pop on the TV, whatever. We were at someone's house and it happened to be on. I wasn't offended. There was I remember reading there was a lesbian kiss. It was like a peck on the cheek. Now, is it a bit infuriating that they want to shoehorn that shit into everything? Sure. And as you're seeing with this new Marvels movie. But it did ruffle. I was just like, okay. Half a second. And I think that you don't want to play your hand too much, where you become so insufferable that it's the littlest thing offends me. You become the very snowflake that you seek to criticize. It's a fine line. It's a fine line from being fuck them, I'm not going to watch this shit. They engage in a worldview that despises me, so I'm just not going to watch it. And another thing to just be I'm waiting to say what I could be offended by, and I don't know. I don't get it. And it's one of the things I gotta point the finger at a lot of the Trump people. Trump could say whatever crazy shit he wants about anyone. Your wife's ugly. Your dad was the Zodiac killer. Like, just crazy shit. Crazy. Sometimes I'm like, what are you doing? But whatever. I'm not sitting here doing stream after stream yelling about it. But then if someone attacks Trump, like flips him off, people lose their shit. Or if someone in DeSantis' camp says something shitty about Trump, people lose their shit. I mean, you want to know what I find offensive? I mean, Trump said Cuomo did a better job managing COVID than DeSantis. That's fucking offensive in its stupidity. That offends me. It offends me that Trump embraced lockdowns. And then afterwards, instead of saying, I was doing the best, whatever, I didn't force him on anyone. Okay. Instead, he's going to double down and be like, well, DeSantis didn't do perfect, but come on, dude. Cuomo did better? Yeah, let me know if I'm buffering it. Hopefully not. Now, again, I'm not saying, like, that's it. You're not going to see me like the snowflakes on the other side, like, I'll never vote. I can't vote for Trump then. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you got to have a little thick skin. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to be the school, you're going to be the fucking stand-up comedian making fun of people, you're going to get jabs thrown back at you. That's okay. That's fine. No problem. Yeah, Trump's petty, but you don't have to be petty if you're a Trump supporter. The lady flipped him off. You ready? Here's what I'd say. Fuck her. What's she done? There, end of debate. There, flip that off, lady. Okay, moving on. Well, I don't know if I could... Thank you, Galil. I'm not going to watch Bill Burr's... I've watched every stand-up special, Bill Burr, but I'm not going to watch the next one because his wife flipped off Trump at a UFC event. Who gives a shit? And it amazes me. I used to do stand-up at open mic. I never got paid for it. Yeah, I agree, Boots. It's like, come on. I don't know. For me, it's just, I hate to say it. I feel like it's, and look, the DeSantis people have a point. The DeSantis people are insufferable as well. But the DeSantis people have a point. Like, there's this sense with a lot of Trump people, there's this sense of like, you can never criticize Trump. You have to love everything he's ever done. And if you even suggest that you might support someone else, even if they're 95% of the way with Trump, then you're an evil, terrible, horrible person. I don't buy that shit. I still may vote for Trump in the primary. I'd certainly vote for Trump if he wins the primary for the general. Yeah, has he fallen off? Maybe he has. Is he henpecked now, as people are saying? That maybe his wife is... I don't know. Here's the thing, right? I've fallen off. It depends on how you look at it. Oh yeah, Mick Linebacker. I saw it all over Twitter. People complaining about Bill Burr's wife. It's stupid. I used to be a drunk. I was funny as shit. I could tell you story after story about some of my drunken escapades. I had a group of friends that think that now, because I'm married and have a kid, I've fallen off. Rob used to be so much fun. Maybe. Maybe Bill Burr's in a marriage that he's extremely happy. And maybe part of being a good stand-up comedian in the style of Bill Burr is being pissed off all the time. So maybe if you're not that pissed off anymore and you're in a happy marriage, maybe you're not as funny. That sucks for you, the Bill Burr fan, the comedian fan. But for the human being, Bill Burr, maybe that's way better. I don't know. Or maybe he is miserable, but he's afraid to say anything because he'll be more miserable. I don't know or give a shit. There's so many problems going on in the world. Even if you don't want to look at politics, even if you just want to focus on cultural issues, Bill Burr's wife flipping off Donald Trump seems to be low on the fucking list. $1 billion question is, why all the homeless, mentally ill, where'd they go? We'll talk about that. So, I was hoping to get some lefties in to yell at. I'd like to yell at anyone. Yeah, I'm sure he is watered down. It's one of those things, too, when it comes to great artists. Like, Doug Stanhope, who I think I haven't enjoyed his more recent stand-ups as much as I did a lot of his older ones. But he has a joke where he talks about, he's like, everyone's like, oh, imagine what would have happened if, Hendrix wouldn't have died young. He's like, how do you know? Maybe he'd be doing fucking Nike commercials. Collabing with, Nicki Minaj. How do we know? Maybe all the good shit was when they were young. Could be. It happens to a lot of artists. A lot of times there's a unique point in your life where you can put out shit that, like, I guess the term now would be go viral, but it connects with a lot of people. And sometimes it's hard to grab that lightning in a bottle again. Particularly if you moved on and you go through a big life change. Like you get sober, or you get married, or you have children. Like a lot of that stuff can affect Andrew Dice Clay, right? Yeah, Boots Loading. I don't disagree with you, but my co-host of my Thursday, Friday Spaces show, John Burke, him and the majority of his audience are the complete opposite. They're DeSantis or bust. If it's Trump, they won't vote for him in the general. So, I mean, that'll be my goal to try to... I don't think we have much of a chance anyways in 2024. I think the deck's stacked too much. But if there is any chance, the DeSantis-Trump voters have to basically coalesce. And right now, I talk to groups of Trump supporters that are like, I would never vote for DeSantis. And I talk to groups of DeSantis voters that are like, I'd never vote for Trump. And to both those groups, I say, you're a fucking idiot. And I don't want to hear any of them complain at all if they end up losing, whoever wins the primary, Trump or DeSantis, by 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 votes. And you were one of the people who said, no, I stayed home because I'd have rather seen a Democrat presidency than DeSantis or Trump. Okay. Last Seinfeld was awful. I feel like comedy's tough now anyways. I'm sure there's great comedy out there. Tell you what, I laughed my ass off. Tucker Carlson on Theo Von's podcast is awesome. Am I debating anyone tonight? I don't know. I don't have anyone lined up, but if someone wants to come on. Here, I'll go to Twitter and try to chum in some lefties. I find autocorrect to be ridiculous sometimes. Sometimes I'm one letter off and it won't suggest. Like, what are you doing? Come on, autocorrect. There we go. Yeah, but listen, Two Stripes, I agree. And the pettiness is stupid. Oh, he's wearing boots or whatever. I don't mind it. I really don't. Like, it gets over the line when you're talking about people's wives, like, faking cancer and shit. That's crazy. That's some crazy shit. But, like, I find the petty insults to be stupid, but I don't much give a shit. But they absolutely... I'm not naive. No one's entitled to shit. Least of all to the nominee for presidency. You're not. Trump's got a lot of shit to answer for. What's up, Go Rams? Best looking male in our family. Pass. Go Rams is my brother. What's up, man? I'm all for a primary. Why not? I wish Trump was at the debates. I know why Trump's not at the debates, because he feels he's the front runner by far, and the debates can only hurt him, and it's going to be tough for him to defend his record. Just true. But, yeah, like the stream, guys. Thank you, Randy. You stingy bastards. Sometimes I wonder what it'll be like when my son Hank grows up and like he could go back and watch some of these videos. It'd be crazy, right? It'd be like, Dad, you swear way too much. I probably do. Yeah, I caught that, Robert Whaley. Tucker's a really funny guy. Tucker right now in Spain at a huge protest against the socialists that are running that country. Here, look, so I bagged on Trump supporters, yelling about, let's bag on DeSantis supporters. And this is something, like, I don't get this. I like John Burke, don't get me wrong. By the way, shout out to John Burke. He was Rumble's featured streamer today or yesterday. And he had like 4,000 live viewers. So shout out to him, man. I don't agree with John on everything. I don't. But I do like John. And I think that he provides a perspective that is unique. And it's one that I enjoy listening to. Sorry, I thought you were talking about me, Boots. He was like, Tucker came out with, Trump at UFC. We know where he stands now. So? And? I don't get this. So what? Like, let me tell you someone I respect. Scott Pressler. Scott Pressler, if you don't know, he goes by The Persistence on X or Twitter. And I think that he's probably done more to, like, register people to vote and get people, try to do things like getting people early ballots and making sure they get out there to vote for Republicans and conservatives, probably more than any other person in the country. If Scott Pressler comes out tomorrow and says, I'm endorsing Nikki Haley for president, I would say that's really bad, Scott. I think she's terrible. I think that's a bad decision. But am I going to be like, therefore I hate Scott Pressler and he's a shitty grifter? No, I'm not going to do that. Oh yeah, Zygmunt, that's one of the stories I was going to talk about. We'll get there. I just don't get it. I don't get, like, there's a large group of people. Oh, there we go. Tucker's with Trump. And? So what? If we find him at a ball, if he's at a hockey game with DeSantis tomorrow, will that make you feel better? I don't know. No one can lose quite like conservatives, man. We're great at it. Yeah, I agree, Lavin. I totally agree. Not all of them. And I think that we're also in a bubble where the most vocal people are people like me and people that you see on X and other. I don't know that the average DeSantis supporter is like that. I don't know that the average Trump supporter is like, a Trump columnist. My friend Zygmunt says, Ukraine blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. U.S. tried to scapegoat Russia. Despicable. Right. Like when Ukraine shot a missile that ended up landing in Poland and they tried to gaslight us that it was Russia to trigger Article 7 or whatever, the article that triggers us into a war because our NATO ally was attacked. Don't get me wrong, Caligula. I despise Nikki Haley. But so now we know Ukraine committed a war crime, an act of environmental terrorism, which significantly harmed our European and NATO allies, which relied on the energy coming from the Nord Stream pipeline. And our media went on. Remember, you were told, like, one of the people I was turned on to this guy, Peter Zan. Now, Peter Zan, a geopolitical strategist who no doubt is working with the CIA. But when you listen to him, he sounds brilliant. Like, he focuses a lot on resources, and there is a way to sound really good by researching and having facts and having a lot of names and things like that, having a lot of dates. And I'm not even saying that he's inaccurate with what he's saying, but you're getting a partial picture. What's more important is the things he isn't saying. So here's someone with his finger on the pulse of the Ukraine-Russia situation. Didn't really have a comment on who blew up the pipeline. Who blew up the dam? Remember that? Peter Zan was calling for Ukraine to blow up a dam because he thought that it would lead to a famine and hundreds of thousands of Russians would die as a result of the famine. The very thing we are told is a war crime if Israel does it to Gaza. Shutting off the water. I saw Mehdi Hassan say today, the reason, and John Oliver said this as well, because thank you, Tengo, thank you for the sub. Because the United States funds Israel, we are then intimately connected to if they commit war crimes that we're sort of responsible. Okay, now to Ukraine. Right? Oh, but that's different. Ukraine was attacked. So was Israel. I don't think we should be funding either of them. That's my preference. So I don't mind someone like John Oliver saying, if Israel goes too far, the United States is funding it. That's fair criticism. What about Ukraine? Where were all these strong voices? Where were they? Well, Two Stripes, it's an interesting question. Buying oil from Iran and then Iran funding Hezbollah that goes out and commits a terrorist attack, you could argue that the United States is partially responsible for that and sort of call for sanctions or the boycott. But that's still a level disconnected from literally giving a country money for defense, not buying things from Israel. Right? So if you look at it on an individual level, it would be the difference between you buy cigarettes at the local mom and pop store, and then they're out there selling drugs and shit. Was your purchasing of cigarettes responsible for the kid that overdosed? Probably most people would say no. But if you're literally funding, like not buying anything and just going to that guy and saying, here's a bunch of money, go buy drugs, and then they do and sell them and a kid overdoses, you're probably more responsible. Yeah, Achilles, absolutely true. That's why we should stay out of this shit. They try to make it seem like it's black and white. Good guy, bad guy. It's not true. It's not true in Israel-Palestine. It's not true in Ukraine-Russia. I have my preferences, which side I think are worse. But all the same, I say stop funding either side of it. Just stop. All it does is exacerbate the situation, make it worse. And even if there was a time and a place for it at one point, we're not there now. Anyways, back to... So, any consequences for Ukraine committing environmental terrorism and a war crime blowing up the pipeline? Nothing? Right, that's what I thought. Scott Horn might come on? Yeah, I've talked to him. I'm aware of who he is. By the way, the situation in Ukraine is going to end exactly as I said it would. And I can tell you the next step, too. It's a good thing they blew up the pipeline because yeah, screw all those fish and shit that would have died. We lowered the carbon footprint. Yeah, right. So what I said from the get-go was the people that will suffer the most are the actual Ukrainian citizens. I don't support Russia invading. Even if they were provoked by the United States, NATO, etc., I still don't support them invading. I wish they would have lost day one. I really, from the bottom of my heart, mean that. I wish that something would happen today. Putin would have a change of heart and say, you know what, we're coming back. We're just leaving everything as is coming back. I wish that would happen. It's not going to. But that's how that would be the optimal situation at this point. It's not going to happen. But the best that could have happened was early as possible the United States to be pushing for a peaceful resolution. To make concessions when they were able to about promising not to expand NATO. Doing the best they could. I'm not saying that would have 100% worked. I don't know. But there seems to be reporting that there were possible peaceful resolutions that were on the table that the United States was like, nope. So instead we sent a bunch of Ukrainians into the meat grinder. Sure, if you want to debate it, no problem. I'll finish here, then I gotta go to the restroom real quick. We sent a bunch of Ukrainians in the meat grinder. What I said was, I didn't know how long it would take, but inevitably what would happen would be this. The United States, the people in the United States that are funding Ukraine, they don't give a shit about the people of Ukraine. They don't care at all. And eventually they'd say, okay, we're on to the next thing. And then the people of Ukraine would be like, what the fuck? And they'd be screwed. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And then the people that said, no, it's important to send it. Now, the next thing is, after that happens, they'll say, this is outrageous. The United States should have kept funding. It's their fault. It's those damn conservatives. It's the damn people. That's what they'll say. Stay there in perpetuity. Fund them forever. Let me find a video for y'all to watch, and if this dude wants to debate, I'll happily do so. Whatever he wants to debate, I'm not picky. Oh, let's see. Oh, this one. I don't know what it's about. Hopefully I don't say anything against terms of service, right? Look at that handsome fellow.
Twitter and social media's censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop story did more to interfere in our elections and democracy than anything Russia was accused of doing in 2016 or beyond that. Now, if you remember, the accusation of Russia interfering and spreading disinformation was because 12 Russian trolls spent $100,000 in an election where hundreds of millions, if close to $1 billion, were spent on ads, on advertisement and things. But we're to believe that $100,000 of ads from Russian trolls that were on Pokemon Go and Facebook, half of which weren't seen until after the election, half of which were pro-BLM and pro-LGBT causes. We were to believe that that was interference in our system and interference and disinformation in our elections that required all of this scrutiny, required meetings on Capitol Hill, had some Democrats saying this was an act of war, had constant calls for censorship from Democrats and other people and media people and social media giants because we need to censor disinformation because it could have stolen election. $100,000 of ads on Pokemon Go. This proves that Democrats and the media understand that they believe that if there was a massive effort from outside sources to interfere in our elections through controlling the flow of information, that it would have a significant effect on our elections. So today they're gaslighting you saying, who cares if Twitter made this decision? It was perfectly reasonable. It didn't affect the election anyways. But they've told you already with the Russian trolls and the misinformation from 2016 that they actually believe far less, $100,000 worth of ads on Pokemon Go and Facebook, would be able to impact the election. So what would happen if almost every mainstream media outlet and almost every tech company decided to censor in the run-up to an election stories that were critical of one of the campaigns? That would be election interference of a magnitude thousands times greater of what these Russian trolls were accused of. And yet even that level that the Russian trolls were accused of was enough for Democrats to claim this was election information. Not only that, they're still using these Russian trolls as an excuse to this day to justify their censorship efforts. Now, when I debate people on the left, it's so strange. Every time I debate them, it's always the one Democrat or left-leaning person that didn't think the Russia collusion thing was a big deal. And I didn't think that the Russia troll thing was a big deal. But we can see that when the rubber meets the road, every single time that Democrats and the media giants want to censor people, they go back to saying, well, we have to do this because of the dangers of 2016. The Twitter drop files show that. You can see Joel Roth, former head of their safety at Twitter. See what he says here at the top. The policy basis is hacked materials. Though as discussed, this is an emerging situation where the facts remain unclear. Given the severe risks here and the lesson of 2016, we're erring on the side of including a warning and preventing this content from being amplified. And what was the lesson of 2016? Well, the real lesson was that Joel Roth's preferred candidate and all of these people at Twitter's preferred candidate, Hillary Clinton, lost. That was the real lesson. And so they decided that they needed to censor information that could result in their side losing again. But what they're implying here was the lesson of 2016 was, remember when those dangerous Russians put misinformation on Pokemon Go and Facebook? Well, now we have to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story. This is sort of the absurdity that they get away with their gaslighting. They constantly downplay things, and then when we find out about it later, like we find out Twitter did this, they say, well, of course we did it because we were justified. They're constantly laying the groundwork for censorship and authoritarianism in the future, saying we need to do this because of past events. What was that event again? So remember, when they tried to gaslight you and saying it's no big deal, Twitter did this, all of these Democrats not only said that far less than this, that 12 Russian trolls stole an election or impacted or interfered in an election, but they're still using that as the excuse to censor stories that are critical of their side.
Everyone wants to talk to Portugal's kingmaker. Representatives from 4 political parties met with the president after a shock announcement from the Prime Minister.
Portugal é uma democracia semi-presidencialista.
Portugal is a semi-presidential democracy, which means that amid the resignation of the Prime Minister, all power lies in the hands of the President.
It is necessary to nip the evil in the bud. It is necessary to start a new cycle.
The only solution that exists at this point is the dissolution of Parliament and call for new national elections.
Portugal's Prime Minister Antonio Costa resigned when it was revealed
Oh no, what's this?
The Infrastructure Minister are among those under investigation for corruption.
Who knows?
Authorities detained 5 people as part.
Oh, probably. Yeah, Portugal king. Terrible, terrible. Whatever that was. Yeah. But I'm adding to it because what I'm talking about, as long as I materially add, Portugal's corruption crisis, according to ABC News Australia, turns its country's president into a kingmaker. I think you see these countries all around that ABC wants to focus on, but they don't want to focus on places like the United States. Thank you so much, Gizmo, the Joe Biden administration in the United States. All right. Who wanted to debate? I love feats. Do you still want to debate? We could do that. Yeah, I saw that conservative carnage. I said I'd debate lefties. I love the distinction they draw. Lefties. Because I'm afraid to debate liberals. Yeah, I include them in. You call in Mr. Liberal, too. Whatever you feel. Whatever you want to be called. We know labels are important to you people. Anyways, moving on. So yeah, this story with San Francisco said they cleaned up their homeless population because President Xi's coming. Because, you know, the lefties gotta be... when their leader's coming... they gotta keep things real. Now here's the thing. Here's one thing I will... Thanks, Conservative Carnage. I appreciate it. No, of course they just swept them under the rug. It's temporary. They took them somewhere. But they would be able to clean. They certainly could. Jabron Lames? Oh, man. If this is really LeBron. Have you finished a book yet? Every time I see LeBron wanting to look smart like he has a book, he's always on the first page. Yeah, Andrew did fine at the debate con. I agree. It's you. You got it. You can do the... I will give him that. 95-96 Bulls. I love the 90s NBA. I stopped watching, like, in the 2000s, if I'm honest. That 90s NBA... NBA was the only big professional sports league that my city didn't have a team. So I was Pittsburgh. So I liked the Pirates, the Steelers, and the Penguins. But the NBA was different because there was no Pittsburgh team. So... you know, I really liked the Pacers with Reggie Miller. I was a Reggie Miller fan. But every team back then, like, had an identity. Am I into CF3? I don't know what that is. But yeah, I don't really watch much sports now, including NBA. Anyways, back to San Francisco. Here's one thing I will give the left. I will give Democrats. They don't give a shit at all. Their leaders don't care. We'll play some clips here. They just don't give a shit. They'll blatantly lie to your face. They don't give a fuck. Or they'll tell the truth and be like, I don't give a fuck. What are you going to do about it? They will exercise, but they don't give a shit. They were talking about impeaching Trump before he was sworn in. Didn't give a shit. And they did it. They used the FBI to go after him for 4 years. Republicans can't even impeach Mayorkas. The dude in charge of the border, the worst crisis the border's ever seen. They can't even get that dude impeached. Can't do it. Democrats don't give a shit. Gavin Newsom will be president someday. He's going to be. He has all of the hallmarks. He doesn't give a shit. He's got that down. As a Democrat, that is the exact right attitude. You're never going to be held to account. Who's going to hold him to account? Fox News? You can go on Facebook with a post that they'll just delete before the election? So imagine that you're a business owner in San Francisco and for years upon years upon years upon years upon years upon years, you've been asking, pleading, please do something about this homeless crisis. There are people defecating in front of my store. It's a disaster. Sorry, we can't help. Sorry, we can't help. Sorry, we can't help. Then the Chinese presidents come and they're like, yeah, get that shit cleaned up in like 3 days. Go. So there's obviously room for criticism here. And people are rightfully criticizing, and I could criticize and you can criticize. But what can I really add? The story writes itself, right? This is where it gets interesting. So they asked the governor Newsom about it. And you expect Newsom to be like, what a regular politician would do is be like, oh, no, this is a problem we've been working on for a long time, and blah, blah, blah. That's not what Newsom does. Here's Newsom's answer. Ready?
Folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true, because it's true. But it's also true for months and months and months prior to APEC, we've been having different conversations.
That's true. We did clean it because leaders are coming. Yep. We don't give a fuck about you. We don't give a fuck about our voters. And why should he? Why should Gavin Newsom care? They're going to vote for him again. He could get out there and be like, yeah, people are saying that it's insulting to the business owners and the people of San Francisco that this has been a crisis for so long and we haven't really resolved it. But then as soon as a foreign leader is coming, we decide to actually do something about it. And to those people, I say, go fuck yourselves. You're trash. We will intentionally treat you like shit. Now shut your fucking mouth or take it, or we'll call you a racist. Got it? And people would say, oh, I guess I'll still vote for the man. But that's it. And you might be saying, no, Rob, no. Misinterpretation. He doubles down. So people started to complain about it. Here's his response to the complaining.
Anytime you put on an event, by definition, you have people over your house. You're going to clean up the house. You have 21 world leaders. You got tens of thousands of people coming from all around the globe. What an opportunity to showcase the world's most extraordinary place, San Francisco.
You got to clean up the house when you got guests coming over. He doesn't give a shit that you have to live in the squalor if you're in San Francisco. Don't care about that. Fuck him. No crazy tactics. I think you're not listening to me. I'm saying exactly that. It doesn't matter. Newsom can say whatever the fuck he wants, and they're going to vote for him. And he'll win national election. He will be president. He will. He might be president in 2024. He'll win. You know, the Joe Rogans of the world, and the Bill Burrs of the world, and the Brett Weinsteins of the world, they'll all vote for his ass. Because whoever the alternative is, they'll say, I just can't do it. I see it a dime a dozen. My campaign manager, the guy that was my campaign manager, he's a Democrat. I see this shit all the time from him. Oh my God, I can't believe what's happening. Couldn't believe what was happening with lockdowns. Couldn't believe what's happening with insert any sort of crisis. And then every time I'm like, you still gonna vote Democrat? Yeah. There you go. Can I link to that? Yeah, sure. And so, I mean, he literally could come out and be like, what I'm saying is, I don't mind the people of San Francisco, the taxpayers, the business owners, the middle class people. I don't care that they have to deal in drug-infested pits of squalor. I don't care at all. I don't care. But if we have guests, then I care. I care about Xi and not you. And they'd still say, okay, that's fair. Now, where was it? A homeless encampment. Under a bridge. There, was it LA? Caught in fire. Now a major bridge is out. They don't give a shit. They'll still vote for it. Don't care. And I actually applaud Gavin Newsom. I really do. It's refreshing to hear someone tell the truth. It really is. He could have been like, oh, no, that's not what we're doing. But he just came out and said it. He said it with a smile and in language that seemed sophisticated. But what he just said was, oh, you live here and you didn't like the homeless? Fuck you. That's what he said. We don't give a shit. Your concerns mean nothing to us. A foreign leader from our biggest rival country, we'll treat him good, but not you. That's what he said. And he'll get away with it. And he'll be rewarded. And there'll actually be people that will say, oh, he's talking straight. He tells it like it is. That'll vote for him. They'll say it's a good thing. Are we any better on the Republican side? How's that funding bill that Mike Johnson's putting out? Well, it doesn't make any cuts. Let me stop you there. They can't impeach Mayorkas. He's like, we don't have evidence to impeach Biden. Couldn't make any significant cuts. And push through the funding of the FBI. Including my Representative Glenn Thompson. Which if I was in a better position, I would run against him. That's one issue I cannot abide. $300 million to the FBI, whose single goal, just today, we have more whistleblowers coming out saying FBI agents that were in the military or that didn't want to wear a mask or weren't vaccinated were all treated as Trump supporters and had their security clearances revoked. More whistleblowers coming out talking about this. And so what the Republicans do? Literally purging the FBI of people that may vote Republican. Literally saying the biggest terrorist threat to this country are Republican voters. Particular Trump voters. And what's the Republicans do? We'll show you. We'll give you an extra $300 million for a new facility to make it bigger than the Pentagon. At least Gavin Newsom's honest with his voters. Fuck you, I don't care about you. The people we vote for still pretend. I'll go to a Glenn Thompson rally here in my community. He'll say, oh, you guys are great. I'm there for you. Love coming back here to Clarion County. Love it. You guys are the best. Heart and soul of the country. Now, excuse me while I go give $300 million to the FBI that's using all of their power to crack down on all of you. I'll be back.